right, guys, here we go. Lesson number 2 with Doodling with Viz. Very excited to get this going. So now that we did our 6 patterns, we're going to actually use these in one of our pieces. So this next piece we're doing is going to be called High Five. So it's going to use these patterns with the hidden pictures and words to create the main image. So this is going to be great to use for your reference. As I'm pointing out the patterns that we'll be using in there, you can always refer to this. So go ahead and keep that with you if you have it. And these are the supplies you're going to need. So I have the drawing paper. This is the paper I use. You can use any paper you want. A lot of people just ask what paper I use. So as long as it's drawing paper, go ahead and get an 8.5 by 11 sheet. So I cut it in half because like these sheets are 11 by 14, which are pretty standard for what I use when I do my pen and ink work. But in these lessons, we're just gonna do 8.5 by 11. So go ahead and grab your paper, whether it's computer paper, any type of paper you want. And then we're also gonna be using Sharpies and pencils in this. So that's really it. It's gonna be pretty straightforward. So let's get going. First thing we're gonna do is use the pencil. So this is where, when I'm doing my light pencil outline of what the main image is, I just like to have a base of where I'm going so I know where to hide the hidden details. So on this one, we're gonna trace our hand here. So this is gonna be easy for everyone to go ahead and do, whether you're a kid, an adult. You know, this is a fun exercise for everyone, and it kind of can show you how my artwork comes together. So put your hand anywhere you want it. I have a big hand and I want it to go right in the middle here, so then I have plenty of space on the outside to do the pattern work here. So trace your hand the best you can. You just need to do a light pencil outline because we are not going to draw anything inside of our hand. So make sure you keep track of that and make a note. We are just going to do the outside borders of it. And from afar, it's just gonna look like our hand there. So when you have your hand traced, you're gonna obviously have this gap down here. So go ahead and just fill that gap fill that bridge in so it kind of wraps all the way around. And that is all you're gonna need for the pencil. The pencil we won't be using anymore, which you can, because sometimes I do even use a pencil outline of what I'm gonna hide. But on this one, we're just gonna go right to it. So go ahead and grab your Sharpie that you're gonna use, and since it's a hand, it almost looks like it's reaching for something. So, you know, go ahead and draw any food you want, candy, pizza. I'm gonna do an apple because I like how much space is inside of the apple. So go ahead and draw something in that area in between your pointer finger and your thumb. And remember, do not put anything inside of the hand. It's all going to be on the outside. So go ahead and find the space where you want to, any size you want. I'm going to just do a apple because again, it has that open. I'm going to draw nice and fat, a big old apple there. We'll give it a stem, and we'll do a leaf, and then just that. So there's a nice big apple right there. The hand's reaching for it. Next, what we'll do is we're gonna spin it, and we'll go ahead and do a word that means a lot to you. So this is gonna be all about you and all about what you love. So for me, I got my family, so I'm gonna write in, you know, artistic, you know, just words. Each letter is gonna be something. So I'm gonna write family. So I'm gonna go ahead and just turn it upside down, and in this corner, I'm just gonna do each letter kind of a little bit different, just so when people are looking for the hidden details, they can see it. So there's my F, and then I'll go ahead and do a squiggly line for my A. And then the M, let's go ahead and and this is where I like just making things up. You can have some of your favorite letters that you do, or when you see letters, you can be like, oh, I'll use that next time in my piece. And so you're always keeping an eye on that. So there is my M. This one we'll just do a couple dots, connecting the dots here. So family, and then we next need a L. So let's go ahead and do an L. Will be, let's just do these. There we go, little noodle, because I do use these patterns in some of them, so it'll be nice. And then the last will be our Y. So it'll kind of swing around. Boom. So there's family. So each letter is something different in there. And then we'll go ahead and do another picture. So again, around the edges, try to stay out of the hand, because when we do the fill, the only negative space is going to be your hand. So in this corner here, I always like to hide also big images inside of my artwork. So, you know, when someone sees something, it's like, oh, where's this going? So let's go ahead and do that right here. So I have a nice skinny section here. Let's go ahead and draw a pen or a pencil to start with. So we're just gonna make a couple lines going down, and then the pencil will give it an eraser here, and then here's the top. So I'm going to make this easy so everyone can kind of follow, and then we're going to go ahead and use the fill. See, now we don't even have to put we don't even have to do anything inside of that pencil there because it's already done. And now here's where it's gonna be cool. So we're gonna connect a line from the top of it so it almost looks like it's writing, and we're gonna have it start our H. So I'm gonna use that line as our H for our next word. So since we're doing the piece called high five, I'm gonna use that as my H. So there's my H, there's my I, G, H, and then we'll go ahead and just write 5 over here, F-I-V-E. And so I just did those in regular, just regular writing, nothing too crazy with it, but we'll have this connecting, so when this is all filled, people kind of be able to see that come together. I also always write or sign my name inside of my artwork. So go ahead, and here's a corner over here. Go ahead and sign your name or write it out, whatever you're comfortable with, whether it's your initials. There's that. And then we also have this corner over here, so we can do a couple more things. The finish date, I'm gonna do the year, so I always have the finish date in every piece since I was in high school. So I've been doing it for over 25 years. I've been able to timestamp since 1999. On this one, we're just gonna do the date, and we're just gonna write it pretty basic. So we're gonna go 2024. So make sure you write the correct year or the date that you put inside of there. And a lot of people ask also, what if you make a mistake? What if there's a line, you know, if you're using a pen, you know, and there's a line that's like, oh no, what was that? Whether it's the pen dropping. The best part about these doodles and doing Viz art style and the doodling style is you can turn anything almost into whatever you want. So like I have had a bird hit a window and my hand shot off and I turned that into a pattern. So this is where you can draw anything you want, but I'm just gonna show you how we can turn that into something. So on this one, for instance, I'm just gonna turn this into a hat. So I always wear hats. So I'm just gonna turn this into a hat to kind of show you how that little line can easily be whatever you want it to be. So there you go. There's a hat from that little scratch mark or doodle mark. Kind of cool how you can see that. So now that you have these hidden pictures, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I did 7 in this one. This gives us enough space to start doing our fill. So next we're gonna jump right into that. So I'm gonna start in this corner over here near where family is. This is where all of these hidden details, kind of like we did with the number 1, is we do not wanna touch whatever we just hid inside of it, so you can see actually what is that number or word or that hidden detail there. So same thing goes with this. Now that we drew and wrote these out, do not touch those. So on here, let's go ahead and start boxing out our patterns. So I'm just gonna go right up to the edge of this paper here, and I'm gonna do my first lines where I'm gonna box these out. So take your time, make sure you're not touching any of those lines. This is where, you know, I mean, I don't want to say mistakes, but where it can blend in and then you almost can't see it. So the more you can box it out and just work on your line control is going to help you to see all the jewels. And I don't know, people call them Easter eggs. I actually had no idea what that term was until someone had to explain it to me. I guess Easter eggs are hidden items, you know, whether it is the pictures or words in movies and books and all that. So, you know, I always just call them the hidden details. So people look at my art and say, oh, look at all the hidden Easter eggs. I guess like family, when the piece is done, that would be an Easter egg. So that was kind of a new term. I learned a lot of new terms over the years with my artwork. I mean, I just always literally just called it doodling with hidden pictures and words. And I kind of like that Easter egg because I guess there's a lot of them out there in different movies and books. So now I'm just going to do this corner, and as you can see, I'm just boxing it out, and so I have my first box there. So with that done, actually I see this little inside of the A right here, so I am going to just fill that in just to give that just to make it solid. So here we're going to go ahead and do the pattern number 1. So this one is going to be pretty much one of the easiest patterns that we do. And so now that you had your practice on there, now let's actually use it in our artwork. So you're just going to make your lines going all over the place. Anywhere you want, turn your paper, make your lines go all over so that you can, and even when you go from, like, see how there's a huge gap from here to here? Well, just go to that line, pick it up, pretend like you're drawing that line, and then come back over. So it almost looks like it's going straight through that. So if you ever see these gaps, like I'll do another one right here where I'm gonna pull up right there, pick back down, come back over, pick back up, right there, and then the last line. So that line just went all the way through without going through my letters. So go ahead and finish those up on your lines going each way. And if your Sharpie or your pen, which the reason I really like pens too is, you know, they're pretty consistent when you find a good pen. These ones just, like this top is already almost blown out a little bit and the ink is starting to smear or expand. The pens don't really do that. So I always have a couple Sharpies, you know, when I'm doing this in case I want to get the skinnier lines. You can do that too if you need an extra Sharpie. But yeah, I've seen people do these on cakes, on quilts. So whatever your medium is, painting, you know, you're gonna have different lines going through. And once you feel like you have enough lines, or you almost hit it from every angle, you will kind of have, I'll just do one more going down right there. Add one more. There we go. So there is pattern number 1 that we just kind of did inside of the artwork. So this next one, we're just going to do a different pattern, and we'll do number 2 later on, but we will just keep moving. So now that you have this outline of your hand, we're going to go over it. Don't go ahead and do the outline because you want to have these breaks. I mean, do whatever you want, but when you're doing this on here, I want to show you kind of how I do this. So just, that's why I have the pencil. Go ahead and go right over one of those lines, and when you feel like you want to stop, go ahead and stop, and that's going to be a new pattern. And then I'm going to come down to where the pencil is. I'm going to fill in the eraser, and then we're going to box that out. And so these little patterns are going to be skinnier, but you'll see this pencil, I'm gonna just put a dot in there. You're going to see this pencil disappear here in a second once I do both sides. And so here's where doing squiggly lines wherever you feel like you can just go. This one's going to be pretty basic. I use this in a lot of, I call them fillers. This is going to be a pretty easy filler when I see skinny lines like this. So all you're going to do, we might do a couple breaks, or if I feel like I could just keep going, I will. But all we're going to do is we're just going to go up and down all throughout it. There we go, there was a first break. So you can either break or keep going to where your hand might get in the way, or if it's smooth, you can just keep going. And you'll see how this just fills that first pattern in, or that second pattern in right here. So now I have this whole section. So this section, I'm going to do a pretty good pattern to get all this going with Sharpies, which is nice, is you can actually eat up a lot of real estate with pens. If we were doing this pen and ink, I mean, this would be hours of getting this fill easily. We should be able to do this in less than an hour, this whole one, but everyone works different and they're different paces. So I'm gonna come here and then just go right to where that M is. And so in my head, I almost have it where I want to blanket, block it off. So I'm gonna just go over here where the top of the pencil is. And now this is gonna be my third pattern that we use in here. And then go across the line. So this is a great time when you have straight lines to work on your line control and how just to pull all the way down. If you use tools, you're gonna really kind of ruin it. I know a lot of people ask if you can use tools. You know, you're gonna screw up the side of, especially with Sharpies, if you're using a ruler, it's gonna get all over the ruler, and then it could smear you know, all over the paper as well, and it becomes a mess. I just recommend just practicing your line control and figuring out what works. Breathing techniques also helps. You know, a lot of the time when I'm drawing, typically I'm not talking, and I have really good line control when, you know, you're just taking a deep breath in and then you slowly release as you're drawing. And a lot of people, 100%, it is meditation therapy when you're just in your head and you're just letting patterns flowing and going and hiding things, which is really cool. So another thing with smearing is I always have these blank pieces of paper. So if on the side of your hand, if you're starting to see that you're getting Sharpie or pencil or you know, whatever you have on there, you don't want to be rubbing it all over the paper. So I always have this. With Sharpies, it's pretty good, but with pens, I always have. So that is a trick throughout the years that I've learned really helps, where all of a sudden all those little ink spots are on the back of the paper, and instead of getting on my hand and smearing it, it just gets on there, and hopefully that helps dry it, and then I'll just rotate those through. All right, so on this one, which will be fun, is we'll have this nice long line coming down, and so whenever I see these, I like to just have a line go around, and then you can use that as your next pattern. And then I'm just going to make these little end marks here, and maybe we could do one more. So we're going to go ahead and do another squiggly line. Maybe we'll start the squiggly line from here and come down to right there. And now we're gonna use the fill. I'm not gonna touch that line. So you can get your patterns from anywhere in your room, wherever you are, wherever you're looking. If you need inspiration on patterns, I mean, you can turn anything into a pattern, whether it's a squiggly line, whether it's, you know, ripples in the current, in the curtains. Like if you're looking at curtains or clocks, whenever I'm creating a piece, I always am creating new patterns and just letting it flow. But if you ever need inspiration, just look around to where you are and see what you think you could turn into a pattern. And that's where it's just, I enjoy that part a lot. I do enjoy creating patterns, and they do flow pretty pretty freely for me, but I've also had a lot of years of just going. So now that I have this other, it's almost like a box in a box. So now I'm not touching those lines where I protect them. I've now protected those lines. Now we're just gonna go straight lines up and down just to get this fill. So these are, again, another filler. Pretty simple filler on this one. And this one does have kind of that fill of our second one. I use these lines as like the secondary filler in a lot of them. I could have done squiggly lines right here, but I do like to use these when you can, and they're nice and quick too. If you're looking to kind of just do a quick fill, you can always just use these. But look to break it up. Like now that you did these lines, I want to use it again to maybe over here. So I try not to use back-to-back patterns because it could look from afar. Little sections are heavier or lighter, so spread your patterns out the best you can, or you can just do one pattern in a whole sheet, which I have done before. I did one pattern across the whole image, which was pretty cool. Definitely wanted to just test that out. But as you can see here, it's already starting to look like family is getting hidden and that pencil. So I'm gonna finish up this pinky over here. So I'm gonna finish this section. So I'm gonna go ahead and just follow a line to where your pencil. You don't need to worry about erasing it because the Sharpies or the markers that you're using should be able to just go right over it and you won't be able to tell. And then there is my next pattern gonna come together. And I'm already not really liking how thick this Sharpie is because it is just getting smashed. So after I do this outline, I'm gonna switch to a little bit of a newer Sharpie just to get a sharper edge on it, because I could tell these lines are starting to smear a little bit on them. Everyone has a different preference. Some people do like the thicker lines on that, but you'll see the difference, especially with this nice thinner Sharpie, and you can mix and match. Like I could easily just go through and do smaller lines in there. All right, so on this one, you got some different patterns. So let's go ahead and do these just random circles around the edges. So anywhere you kind of see an opening of a circle, let's go ahead and do one, spread those out, because we are gonna go ahead. So now you have those. Now let's make it a second one to protect that smaller circle again. This is a pattern that I do use also a lot in my artwork throughout the years, where I just do these dots, especially when it's not like when it's a big area. These close up that negative space nicely, because when we go back over it, we're going to use these squiggly lines to kind of fill all this middle. So you should have these two different, and you could keep going if you want to have another one, but for this I think it's good for me. So I'm just going to start in this corner over here, and now we're just going to fill it with these squiggly lines here. And this is almost like these lines. These are another filler that I use in a lot of my patterns. You could do so many different patterns just with these fills. So I'm gonna go as far as I can until I need to switch direction. Like right now, I feel like I'm gonna just turn it, and we're gonna start over here. I almost call that like the intersection. Like, all right, if I keep going, those lines are gonna get real big. So I'm gonna turn it and go this way, and it's gonna just cross that intersection of lines right there, and they connect, and it looks like it was all meant to be. So I can either keep going or I can pick back up this way. So now that I had that going, and you can see that intersection got even smaller, so now we're just going to keep going right there. And now I'm going to turn it again. Let's do one going that way. See how it flows? It just goes smoothly. I mean, if you try to overthink it, that's where people get in trouble. Just go and learn from which patterns you like, which patterns you don't like. You can see how some patterns are lighter, some patterns are darker. So it's really up to you on which ones you like and which ones you want to use in your pieces, or you can tweak each one. For instance, like this one, you can actually do a couple different ways. So like that's level 1. A level 2 pattern that I would say, like let's go ahead and do another pattern like that. I'm going to use that right here. So this one, that number 1, well, there's like 10 different renditions that I can do with a basic line. So let's go ahead and show you how the next step to that basic pattern works. So I'm gonna since I have that one over here, that pattern, I'm gonna jump over to this side. Sometimes I do move around, especially when I'm drawing. I need to let this side dry so I don't smear it. So I will jump over across the sheet and start doing this fill, and I do move all over the paper. So right here, we're gonna start hiding this apple, and I'll show you this next pattern, which I do enjoy creating more than just doing those lines. So go ahead and find a spot that you have some open space, because this pattern does require a little more open space compared to like inside of there. So this is going to be a great location for this next one. All right, so I boxed it out. Now with the same thing, we're gonna do a line. But this time we're gonna do 2 lines each time. So this is really where I feel like the baseball stitching, if you've ever cut open a baseball or looked at a baseball, this is really where this was inspired from. So let's go ahead and just do a straight line going down. And then we're gonna do another one. So we're gonna just right next to it, try not to touch that line, and then we're just going to keep doing this. Every time you go down or create a line, you're going to do another one. Okay, so there's that one. You kind of see where I'm going with this. Instead of just doing that single line, we're going to do a double line, and then we're just going to keep filling this whole thing. And I always just try to shoot for a different area where I haven't been. So we're going to go ahead and try to go underneath each one. So when you already, like right now, I wouldn't go all the way across. Just you got to lift it up. You got to work on that line control again and just keep going. It's a lot of lifting and putting down on some of these patterns. So here is, and you can see it kind of start to come together here. It looks really cool when it's all done. Some of these patterns are fun. You'll enjoy different patterns more than others. This is one of those ones that I do just like seeing it build and build until it's all complete. And this one I do call the baseball pattern. Like that's baseball pattern 1, 2, 3. Sometimes you could even do 3 lines, 4 lines, and you could go each way. You could do thick lines and small lines. There's so many different ways you can do these. One simple pattern can easily turn into 20, 30 different types, and they all look a little bit different. It's all stemmed from the same one, but that's where experience and playing around with patterns comes in. So once you feel like you're satisfied with your lines and your pattern work, or how many you want to do, I just like to give a fill. Like if I see any big hole like this, to me there's a big hole right there, so we're just going to do one going that way. I haven't done one right here, so I'm going to go all the way down. And just kind of keep going until you're ready to move on to your next pattern. So I do want you guys working on your own patterns, because we did do those first 6. we're not gonna do the Disney one in this one, because I do only use that one, but I wanted to show you that one kind of as a bonus. If any of you have my Disney pieces, you can definitely look for that one, but we won't be doing that Disney piece in any of these artwork. Feel free to do it for yourself. For me, it's just, I've always said that one I will only do in my Disney pieces. So, you know, I did show you, but you can create your own design and go from there. So I think I'm good. I think I'm going to just do one more right here. And you can kind of see where all those lines just kind of start intertwining, and it just kind of goes from something as basic to that to the double line where it just looks woven. And if you ever see a baseball, I swear that's what it looked like to me. So we have that side on there. We might as well hide this apple. Let's go ahead and hide this apple right here. So if you hopefully have a nice big, I kind of did mine fat because you know, I just wanted it a little bit bigger. For your, if you have a room for your stem, or your leaf, go ahead and do that. On the inside, do not touch any of those lines the best you can, so we can see this apple when we're done. It'll look like that hand is almost reaching for one if they look at it, or whatever you put there. I don't know, some people draw candies and different different food there. This one next, I'm gonna just do a very easy kind of just lines. So since I have a line here, I'm gonna do another one that's hopefully this would go under the 2-3 difficulty. I feel like a lot of people can, there's a lot of different ways you can do this one as well. So let's just start here right down the middle. So let's draw a line, and I'm gonna do 3 lines. So 1, 2, and 3, and then my next one I'm going to do a little bit of a break. So go ahead and give a little bit of space. This one is great for line control. Once you're starting to get your lines, straight lines, this is another one that will help you with getting your line control. So now I flipped it, and I'm going to go the other direction. So whenever I do lines or patterns with open, I kind of start in the middle and I work my way left, you know, from the middle to right, and then I flip it like I just did to work the other side. For me, it just works easier. All right, so you have those lines going there. Now this way, I'm only going to do two lines going each way. So there's 1, there's 2. Now I'm going to give a break. There's 1, and there's 2. Now you could go ahead and do 3 or 1 line, whatever you want. I just kind of like how it splits it up, and this is where it might look similar, but it would be different. If I do 3 going one way and 3 going the other way, that's actually a completely different pattern and has a different look. So as you can see, there's the apple. Nice contrast with the other ones. Apple's starting to get hidden inside of there. So let's jump over to 2024. We're gonna start working on the fingers, bringing ourselves around. So this one, I'm gonna use this whole pattern over here. So I'm gonna just go right there to the middle finger, and I'm gonna go down and finish that line. There we go. All right, and here is the 2024 section. So I'm gonna block these off. Now this one, I want you to do any pattern you want. Let's go ahead and work on a new pattern for you. So try to think of a pattern. Look around your room. Look around what your workspace is, whether you're indoor, outdoor doing this. If you're in a classroom, look around and find something that you think you can turn into a pattern, whether it's a pin cap, whether it's a pencil, an eraser, the floor tile. There's so many things you can do. just look around and see what you got. I love like doing these rice pieces, so you know, these are kind of fun because they're little rice pieces, and we almost use it in pattern 5 where we're building that, but these ones kind of just free flow. So let's go ahead and I'm just gonna start doing these little tiny rice pieces all over. You can use these anywhere in your pattern, or you can create your own. So these are just gonna go all over the place. There is no real direction. I'm just making these all connect in different areas. Unlike pattern 5 where they're creating a square. So I just kind of keep adding until I feel like, okay, that section's kind of done over there. I'm gonna create these, a lot of moving. I always move my paper a lot. That's why a lot of the times, like my time-lapse videos, I've done them in the past, and man, it almost is, you kind of get dizzy because I do move the paper so much because I want to just try to create straight lines, and I don't like to like draw the hat upside down. I want it to be exactly where I'm lined up to get as straight of a line as possible. I'm gonna just keep filling these rice pieces all throughout this 2024. And if you are struggling with patterns, you could go ahead and just do this one, just throw rice pieces all over, and then we're gonna go in and fill. But I would love for you guys to start practicing just creating pattern works, because that's where the doodling, you know, comes in. If you're overthinking it, then you might be stuck. You just kind of got it. You just got to let the pen or whatever you're doing just go, and you'll see it start to develop. You'll start to see, you know, you just want pen and paper, you know, marker to paper. So now that I have those, I'm going to go back in, and I'm going to box each of these areas out to where there's these little sections where I can go back in and create them. So I'm not going to touch these. I'm protecting each of those rice pieces again because I want those to be their own pattern when you see them here once I'm done. All right, so there's that. All right, so now I'm almost halfway done with these guys. And it's nice when you are done creating these, this artwork, is just to keep it for reference, to kind of see where you started, where you began. One of my biggest things I always regret was I wish I kept more of my artwork, at least to show progression as far as when I was a lot younger. I used to love to draw, but I didn't keep a lot of my artwork. I never actually wanted to be an artist. I always knew I could draw, loved working with my hands, but I didn't keep a lot of mine growing up until that first one, that classroom notes, which you'll see in this lesson at the beginning. I'll have an image of that one, and 18 and Lost, and even Lonely World. It was just doodling and drawing. But I used to, yeah, like Saturday mornings, I would be drawing in the morning. You know, we didn't have our iPad. We didn't have iPads or any of that, you know. So I would draw a lot around the house. I definitely did it more for myself. I didn't like people telling me what to draw and how to draw. I just really enjoyed it. So I just kind of kept it to myself, and finally tapped into it and kind of just ran and turned into what you see here. So yeah, you don't want to force creativity. You just want it to kind of free flow and hopefully get inspired. So now that I have these other holes here and I filled in all those rice pieces, I'm just going to kind of do, we have that fan that we did in pattern number 3. Now I'm just going to do those, since they almost kind of created each of those. Now I'm actually just going to go back in and I'm going to create that fan in those, where I just try to find those lines. So this is another variation of of that pattern number 3, but I just added another element with these. Again, I call them the rice pieces. So you can use, when you find something that you like, you can use it a lot of different ways, and that's where your art's going to start becoming different. Or you can find a pattern that you want to use all over in a piece, whether it's, you know, a cake or clothing or a card or just part of your artwork, painting. I mean, it's pretty cool when you find a pattern that you're like, oh man, this is a new one. I really like that one. I'm going to start using that. And then who knows where those patterns actually go from there. So you can kind of see where this resembles that. I'm just finding an edge where I want the bottom to be, and then I'm pulling down. And then you'll see this one when I'm done here, how that one kind of came together there. Look at that. It's come together nicely. So hopefully you guys are filling in this space, not using the inside, you know, at least after for this lesson. And then if you want, some people do different color on the inside, or I've seen people draw on the eye, but let's go ahead and fill this and leave that blank so you can see that, and then you can do whatever you want with it. I'm going to jump back down over here to some of these smaller ones. Now, here's a great place where if you don't want to use like blocking it out, so you know how we usually block out the pattern. Now that it's, because it's really skinny, this is a great area where you don't have to do a block out. So if you see a section like this, you can do even just a pattern all by itself without that. So this is a great spot where I'm just going to do these lines. So first I do these lines. So if you want to watch, you can just watch, because I'll show you at the end how all these lines are going to connect. So I just do these lines right to the end where I'm not touching also that pencil line that's creating the H. So this is great for this pattern is great for skinny areas, because if you do the fill on the top and the bottom, you're really left with little room to be able to do a pattern inside. So you're really just using all the space that you can. So I think that's good right there. So now here's where I'm just going to connect all of these. So I'm going to start right here at the top, bottom, top, bottom, and just going from there, and you're just rotating and you're just flipping. So when I draw those straight lines, some people can just do that all in one. I find it easier just to do the lines first and then go back and connect them. And you can even, some people like to even just skip every two and go ahead and just do the tops. And right here, you can just leave them like that, or you can go back and you can fill the whole thing in. So this is one of those where there's so many different ways you can create a pattern just with squiggle lines, and it opens it up. So these are a little bit darker, but you can kind of see there. And then if you even want to go one step further, you can just go top and bottom. So if you don't like how open that is, you can almost just go back at the top and then do this. Some people could just leave it, or you can do that, or I'm going to do it again on the other side. So now we're going to have, it's really going to fill this area in. There you go. So there's that pattern. So I mean, we literally just did 3-4 different patterns in one. You can just stop where you want to. You can even keep going, or you're like, all right, I like that. I like how much tighter those are. So that's always a kind of a nice trick as well. And so on this one as well, you can do it again if you have this nice, you know, even right here, you could do a zigzag, kind of literally just going up and down, up and down. So there's an M. So I almost call these the M's and W's, where instead of just going all the way, I'm just going to do M's and W's to get that fill. And this saves you that time where you don't have to box it out. So if you like patterns, just doing it freely and more open, feel free, try that out. See see what you like. So I'll do one more here, because now it's starting to get bigger, as you can see, because the bigger it is, it's, you know, it just gets that's where you can do some really cool patterns on the inside. So there we go. So we got a couple of our skinny patterns over here. I'm going to go ahead and let's go ahead and work on pattern number 2 now. So now that we have our pattern number 1, let's go ahead and do pattern number 2. Here's a great spot for it over here. So right where this hat is, where I did that little mistake and then showed you how to turn that in. So I like this nice fat area right there. That's a great spot where we can do, you know, our pattern 2 with these squiggle lines where it goes up and down. So let's go ahead and fill in that section. This is gonna knock off our top corner here. We'll go right to the tip of the hat. And you can hide as many or as little as you want. Some people I know, they don't even want to hide anything. You know, for that, you know, that's great. Just do patterns. But I think it's really fun, especially kids, when they start to see all the hidden details and you can hide everything about that topic. So here is the next pattern. We're going to work on pattern number 2. We're going to actually use that one in this piece here. So now we're going to do these almost lollipop bursts or whatnot. So go ahead and find an area where you're going to go ahead and just spin around, and you can do it any direction. So now that I went that direction, I'm gonna come right here, go right here, I'm gonna go opposite, and you're gonna want to leave a little space, not packing them too much on top of each other, just so we can do the fill pattern also. And there's that. All right, I feel like I can do one more right here. There we go. So we have those squiggles, and now we're just gonna box those out. And it's okay if the lines start touching on these. So you'll see right here, this line might touch it, and that's okay. As long as it's not touching the inside line of those squiggles, that's what this pattern. So, I mean, I make rules for each pattern that I do, just so that they all are a little bit different, and this is gonna eat up some of that space on the inside. So you wanna find certain spacing for each pattern that you do, because some go a lot better in other areas, which ones are going to be in the fatter areas, which are going to be in the skinnier areas, and then also which ones are going to go good next to each other. Because if you go too heavy on patterns next to each other, you're really going to see from afar how heavy those patterns can be, or how light they can be. You know, if I did another light one right there, it might just start getting too light and too heavy. So now that I kind of had a light one, you know, we can do another one over here that will open up these lines a little more. And now I'm just going to fill those in with these. Now you can either do squiggly lines to fill, or you can just do these lines that kind of go, or if you found another inside pattern that you want to use, go ahead and do that. Just get these insides filled so this whole section will look somewhat solid from afar. And we're just going to keep going, and I'm going to continue on this side. Here's the inside, and now I can see this hat. This hat will disappear here. We're going to make that hat disappear real quick because it's so small. All right, and there's pattern number 2. So we just filled in pattern 1 and 2 in there. Now let's hide this hat since it's bordering right up. So do not touch those lines around it, and I'm just going to do a couple more lines in there. We'll just do something like that. And I always try to keep my spacing in between somewhat the same so it doesn't look too, but you see how that just literally disappeared in there. That's what we're going for. And now I'm going to finish these other fingers. So here's really where you're going to start seeing that hand coming together. And we got our hat right there. You can either write, if you see there's a lot of, you could just write hats. So sometimes even in my artwork, if I'm drawing a dragon or something, you know, I'll even have the image, or I'll have like dragon with an arrow pointing at it. So sometimes I do double that up just because it's like, I want more hidden details inside of there, or to double it up in case someone doesn't see the dragon at first and like, oh, it says dragon and it's pointing. It's like, oh, there it is. It's fun when people see the artwork for the first time and they're looking and they get excited about what you did. That's what kind of kept me going. You know, when I used to love and look for the Bev Doolittle hidden details, I used to love seeing it and showing other people, and highlights magazines, you know, doing that with people. I mean, this just takes me back to being a kid, and that's what's so important, is trying to find things that you truly enjoy, that can get you out of what's going on in your life or going on, you know. It's like you can almost just get rid of the technology and go back to the basics. That's why I, you know, love doing this, is it just reminds me of being a kid again. All right, so we have this next section opened right here. So on here, it's kind of cool, as we have, you know, some areas where we can have some fun. So I'm gonna go ahead and just do some more spirals. And I'll just go around. So you can either do one like that, or if you're like, oh, let's create another one. So let's go ahead and create another one going right there. And then I'll create one going that way. I feel like there should be one. We'll get close to there. All right, so I got some spirals kind of going all over the place. Now we're gonna protect those spirals, so go ahead and just box those out. And then this one, we'll do the fill. Or if you did the zigzags on this one, you could do the straight one. We'll go ahead and, like, see these zigzags, we'll go ahead and just do those on the inside here when we protect our lines. All right, so keep those lines protected, and then you can kind of see, I'll just do one right here since I have that fill. I'm just gonna do the zigzag. There we go. Just do a line right there. Yeah, these Sharpies go quick, you know, as far as, because you're probably putting pressure on them and they're starting to get flat, and you can tell how much they're starting to spread out a little bit, you know, with the bleeding. But it's all right, it makes it go, it makes the lines go a little faster and more fill the bigger the line work is. All right, so now that we have that one, let's go back and just hit them with these zigzags. So I like zigzags because they're kind of fast, and you can cover a lot of ground on them. So instead of just doing zigzags in the whole thing, that's where the squiggly lines kind of break them up. And it just looks completely different instead of just using, I try not to do the same pattern, the exact same pattern in my pieces more than once, but there's definitely times where I'm like, you know what, I do want to do that one again. And it literally could just be, if we do these squiggly lines again and do those, I mean, I consider that not being the same pattern. You tweaked it a little bit. So it's just the little tweaks that would change the pattern altogether and change the look and feel of it. All right, so this one is, we just got a couple little ones over here. All right, bam. All right, let's go ahead and jump back over to the high five. So we have that kind of starting to get the fill up there. I don't have too much black on there, even though I can barely see it, but Sharpies dry quick. So I do have this area here, which I do see that nice fat area that I like for pattern number 3. Since I did this pattern up here, kind of that's similar, I'm gonna shoot across and do that so I don't almost have those next to each other. If it just, for me, I just feel like it looks cleaner, and it's something that I try to do, is to separate patterns that look similar a little bit. So I'm gonna block this section off. So let's go ahead and hide this H, or in my artwork, it might be different. Yours is not gonna probably look the exact same as mine or your neighbors or other people who do this, but it's always fun to kind of compare and see what they look like. So I'm gonna go right to there. All right, so this is a nice corner section that we'll use. Looks like so far we've used all the corners for our pattern. So pattern number 3 is coming up. So remember, we're first gonna just start carving out the areas that we wanna go. So let's just do this fill. Just find spots where you're gonna do that wave or the fan, whatever you wanna call it. So I just kind of hit all the corners first, and then I just start getting those going until you fill that section, and they'll just start free flowing. It should just start free flowing, and you should be able to just start seeing it come together. And if not, well, it takes time, takes practice to see where the lines are gonna start breaking. All right, so there's the first step. Now we're gonna hit it with the actual fans all coming together. And you're just gonna find the bottoms, or where you want the bottom to just go down. And I just move them around to where I feel like I'm not, like if I did one right here, it would almost bump right into there. So I'm gonna switch it, and I'm gonna go over here to where that dark side is not hitting each other. So I always am trying to figure out different angles of where those dark sides don't go together. So each bottom has their own section on these fans, so they just don't keep running in to each other here. Yeah, this one you will definitely see in all my pieces. I use this one a lot. I love this pattern. I like the way you look, or the way it looks. I even had it in a piece called Love that I did when I probably 15 years ago. I did a Faith, Hope, and Love collection, and all I did was patterns, and the whole pattern it was written was love, and then I did this whole pattern around it, which you can definitely take a look at. So yeah, you can use these for anything. I mean, I've seen people use these in baking. You know, they said, look at what I did with the cookies. You know, I've seen a lot of you know, kids really enjoying this one. It's fun. You move the artwork around a lot, and feel free to move it as much as you want. And then at the end, it is going to be a darker pattern. So you'll see that is probably one of the darker, that will probably be the darkest pattern on the artwork that we use, just because there's so many lines that are going together. So we have the light pattern and the dark pattern. So there's pattern 1, 2, and 3 that we did together. Now we're just gonna do 4 and 5. So actually I am liking this section over here for 4. So let's jump right into pattern 4 that we did. So if you're working on a pattern, go ahead and finish that up, and then let's do pattern 4 and show you. Let's work on that one here. So I'm gonna block this out, and I'm gonna connect now these sections. So obviously I'm not touching anything, but now this all area is gonna come together. And this is another one of those patterns. The more space you give it, I feel like the better it is, because if you try to do it in a tight area, it's a lot. It just doesn't have that fill. So let's go ahead and work on pattern number 4 here with these arrows going each direction. So find a spot where you have a straight line. This is where I go right in the middle, and then I'm gonna work right, and then I'm gonna flip it around and do the other side. So first things first is find where you wanna start. So I'm gonna start right here. I have a straight shot down, because if I started here, it's gonna break it up, and it's not gonna be as easy and smooth. So once you have a spot where you can go completely down, let's go ahead and do our first. We should get 4 out of this one here. So there's that way. Now we're gonna flip them and go the other way. And this one might take a little, you know, each pattern that we work on is gonna take a little bit more practice. You know, some people might get these right away. Sometimes they do take longer to get so that it looks, you know, like they're not all bumping into each other. So take your time, no rush on these, but this one is gonna be a little bit harder compared to some of those other patterns that we did. I love the way that this one looks. It almost looks like it's moving when it's done, which is kind of cool. And then there's the edge. So you just do the best you can to kind of flip it. Now here's where I flip it, and now I'm gonna go to the right again. So there's this one. This one, sometimes I have to just breathe. I am moving kind of fast on here. The goal is to get them to look the same, and you have a lot more control with pins compared to these Sharpies, because these Sharpies are definitely bleeding, as you've probably noticed as well. But you can go quick, it dries quick, and I'm gonna go right through that stem. So just do the best you can when you're going through sections. And there we go, go this way. And we have one more, look at that, boom. So that just went right through there. That's why it was important we did that on number 4, just so you kind of practice going through that, because there are gonna be areas where you want it to look smooth, that it's cutting through, or if you find a nice big area, you don't have to worry about breaking it and making it look like it just continues. So man, look at that. We got 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the patterns. We might as well just knock out 5. So we have those. And that one is probably the one that is gonna be, it is gonna take probably the most space. So I'm guessing with the space that I have left, because these are all small areas. We have a nice section here. I pretty much have 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 to 4 patterns I can do to finish this off, but I'm gonna use it right here. So I have 4, I'm gonna do 5 right next to it. I think this is a nice area. So I'm gonna find that biggest area, find the biggest area you have left on your paper that you wanna use for this one, just because this one does require more space than the other ones. So I'm gonna block out my section here, and that apple on mine is going to be fully hidden after this pattern. All right, so there's that, and now I'm gonna go this way, and these are the little rice pieces that create the box. So I'm gonna go ahead and just start creating. I could probably get 3 of them out of there. See, if you had a bigger one, we can do more, but this is what I have left on my paper, so that's what I'm gonna use. So I'm just gonna try to keep them as straight as possible, because when we hit them the other way, we want it to create that box. So go ahead and look at pattern number 5, because that is the one that we can use for inspiration behind this, if you want to have that that sheet there to remember what it looks like. So All right, so I'm almost done going this way. Now we're gonna flip it, and I can probably do a couple more, and now I'm gonna hit it going down this way. So if I had a sharper Sharpie right here, you could really get these looking clean. So now these will just connect on there, and then you see this flat line. I'm gonna go ahead and just pretend, or just use half of that so that it kind of goes with it. But you can see that that bleeding inside of there. So we're not gonna be able to do as much as we did in the other ones. Now that fill, you're gonna fill that inside of those squares, and this is where some people can kind of you could end it right there with the inside, or if you have more room, if I had more room, we would be able to do more on the inside of those squares. That's why this one definitely needs that space, with especially the Sharpies. I'm gonna see if this one is a little sharper. All right, so now that we have that, now I'm gonna go and I'm just gonna hit the inside. This is where that last section, see how it's bleeding together? It's okay, it's just I didn't leave enough room inside of them. And so now it's gonna all bleed together. So you gotta be careful, especially with this one right here, to you know, what your medium is, because if you're gonna start doing that detail, you know, with a pen, you would easily be able to make those crisp and clear, and you have all that. If you had all this space, you would be able to, you know, do it both sides. So that's as much as I'm gonna do on that, because if I go this other way like that one, doing all that, they're all gonna bleed together, and it's just gonna look like black. You can almost color, but you're definitely trying to go for something like this on that number 5. So now that we finish 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, now you can just finish up with these last ones that you have here. So I'm gonna knock these out probably in 3 patterns. I could kind of break it up 1, 2, and 3. So I'm gonna start this high 5 one right there. There's a pattern. So let's go ahead and finish this, and here comes that bridge area for the hand. And we're just gonna outline this high 5, and those are gonna start disappearing. So at this point, you should definitely see areas that are starting to get hidden inside of the artwork. If you didn't touch any of those hidden details, you can start seeing them. It's okay if you did, and you'll know, like, uh-oh, like, yeah, that line crossed, so I can't really see it as well. All right, so there's one section, and now the other. I'm gonna block these off just to kind of show you. I always like to kind of block them where there is, instead of doing a big line right here where I block it. I like to block it to where, you know, there's, you know, my name right here. That's a great block. So I'm just gonna go 1 right there, and then over here I'll shoot it to there. And yeah, look how thick that is. You can see from when we started, having as many Sharpies as you can, whether you use colors. You know, I've seen some really nice ones where people did all the hidden details in like pinks or blues, and then all the outside is the black. So like this high 5 and that pencil would be in like a blue. The apple, just the outline, would be in red. If you do add some different colors, it looks really nice. There's so much you can do. For this exercise and lesson, we're just going to use the one color, because the one coming up, now that we had our practice with our patterns, now we're going to create an image after that will have color, be a little more complicated, but you can kind of see the difference from black and white with adding color. And on this last pattern block area, I'm just going to finish this off. There goes my thumb, up and around. Signature and name is going to start being hidden here. And I should have all 4 corners blocked off. So there we go. So there is my hand covering that whole thing. Pretty cool. You have that, and if you're you know, young and as a kid, if you do this each year, you can see how big your hand has grown throughout the years, which I've had even some people who've been doing that throughout the years since I've been teaching that. This was kind of one that I did, you know, live at Disney years ago. This was one of the ones that we did, and I know people in the last 8 years had their kids do it each year, and they showed me the difference in how clean their lines are and how big their hand was. And man, it was really cool to see that people took it to that level. So a lot of different things you could do. And now even on this one, for instance, you know, you can even go from block to block. If some people like to block them out like this so that they have kind of a road map, or you can even see if you want to write more stuff, you could even do a pattern that crosses them, that goes inside both of them. For me, this one is I'm just going to do each of these individually just so you can see more patterns, and maybe on that next one we'll do a pattern that goes from one pattern to the next. This one's really easy fill. It's quick, and it just has a whole different look and feel to it. So all we're going to do is we're just going to make these little lines that kind of connect it. Very basic pattern. You can get into these small areas like that, which is nice. Just almost keep it going and growing, especially next to a darker pattern. I don't like to use this next to a lighter pattern. So if you're doing a complicated pattern, even you know, doing a basic one next to it, it looks good, and it almost rests, some of the people say, their eyes if you got too much going on. I never understood that, but that's just what I've heard, is like, oh, there's just too much, it hurts my eyes, some of these patterns. So I sometimes do just like to break it up so it's not just too overwhelming or too heavy or too light in some areas. This one is really soothing, and that's what's even nice is with some white space, having negative space. Love playing with negative space. It almost lets people rest their eyes a little bit before going back in there. You know, some people do, and you know, everyone's a little bit different, you know, whether they can get headaches from it or they just don't like it. They don't like if it doesn't calm them down. I love just to get lost inside. I mean, I could sit here and do this all day long, drawing, creating, working out new pieces. So that one, you can see how simple that was, has a whole different look and feel compared to the other patterns. So your piece is starting to come together with the high five. We only got 2 more left. So right here, you know, I'm going in through my Rolodex of my hundreds and hundreds of patterns that I've used to see which would look good here, and you'll have that eventually in your head. And I am going to be doing a YouTube where I create 100 different patterns, where if you need help with patterns, I can show you how I do it so you can use them, because I know some patterns aren't flowing as easy, but you can do really anything, which is great with these. So on here, it's kind of all over the place since it's not as square. You got things going. On this one, I am gonna just do, so over here we did these little circles around the edges. This one we're gonna do the opposite. We're just gonna go right in the middle. So I'm not going to go on any of the edges. I'm just going to go right in the middle here. I'll even put one right there. All right, and then I'm going to connect. I'm going to connect these all. So let's just start here. We're going to connect all these dots. And maybe we'll shoot up to here. Come down, up, over. Bang, there we go. All right, and then from this, I'm just gonna go one up, one down, one up. We'll put this one up there. So I'm just gonna have one line going from each section. And then we're gonna box this out and we're gonna see what this looks like. This one is just kind of free flowing it, putting those circles. This one we'll just do a little circle around there. There we go. And around. All right, so we have this second to last one coming up, and hopefully your piece is starting to get filled. You might even have gone faster than me. I mean, I know there's people who can go fast. I'm trying to go quicker so that, you know, people can, some people like, some people say I go too fast, some people say I go too slow. I mean, I just try to keep moving. Don't try to stop as much, because you can always, what's nice with, you know, this course or this class is you can just pause it and you can stop and you can kind of see where things are at. So I'm just going to keep kind of moving forward. So you do have that option to go back and rewatch it. And I'm going to do zigzags in each of these. Since I don't really see any zigzags over here, I'm going to go ahead and just do these zigzags kind of like we had up top. I'm going to bring those back down as my fill. And then there's that last one. And we are almost done with the high five. All right, we have that. And every once in a while, step back from your piece, take a look at it, because I know with this style, you're kind of so close into the artwork that you don't even realize from afar it has a whole different look and feel to it, especially once you get to the end there. You know, you could get so in zone with that pattern, just step back and look and see, oh wow, look at that, look at how, you know, the patterns are coming together, or it all comes together cleanly. And now with all this, I'm on my last one. Look at that, bam. All right, so on here, let's go ahead and end it with, I'll do some swirls, since I haven't done really a swirl in one. You know, I did some up here, but we're gonna take this kind of pattern and go even a little bit further with some tighter swirls. So I'm gonna do a swirl that goes up and around. So we're gonna do some tighter swirls that are just going. I had to break. I was going to keep going, but that's where the hand starts shaking, and if you push it. All right, and then I'm going to go fill this so that we protect. It almost looks like a caterpillar. I know some people say that it looks like a caterpillar pattern, which, yeah, everyone sees something different, which is kind of nice. So I guess we'll just run with that. So there's that one, and I'm gonna do one more swirl going down. So I'm gonna have that cross right down there. So, and it's gonna run right into our barrier. Create another one. There we go. and that will eat up the space. And now we have just a little bit of space on the inside, and if you wanted to, you can almost do another one. But what I'll do on this last section is maybe we'll just go and follow that around. So I'm just gonna keep going with it, and these ones you can use it a lot where it almost has like a vibrating feel to it. You just give around and it almost looks like it's pulsing. So that's what I'm gonna use on this one. We haven't even done anything with this type of pattern to where you just keep going around. So this will be a good one to end on until we do the next lesson, which my last line, always a good feeling, is right there. So there is the high five doodle. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Kind of gave you an idea. This next lesson, lesson number 3, it's going to even go from a step up to this one. So keep practicing, work on your doodles, work on your patterns and your line work, and when you're ready, jump into lesson 3 for our next step. Thank you so much.